Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure and an honor to be joined by industry stalwarts. So I ask that you please give them your respect, join in on the conversation, take a seat, and a lot of exciting discussion lies ahead. The combined wealth of knowledge in this very room assures me of that. So moving on, जैसे कि ढोलकिया साहब ने कहा था, कर्मों का सिद्धांत या 40 साल के अंदर 400 साल तक का काम करो. And I think that beautifully summarizes corporate social responsibility in a nutshell. And everyone from corporates to consumers, and you'll agree with me, Hina and Sumit, they're increasingly showing an inclination and an interest to put their time, their money, their energy in directions that align with their values. So the question then becomes, to what extent is corporate social responsibility, or, for example, environmental, social, and governance principles bridging that gap between investment versus outcome and connecting the dots between profitability and purpose? Well, to shed more light on this very subject, I'm joined by a highly distinguished panel of domain experts, and I ask that you please give them a huge round of applause for being here. And Sandeep sir has also joined us. Sir, we ask that you please do us the honors by joining us on stage. He joins us from IBM, Sandeep Patil, ladies and gentlemen. Sandeep sir, we are so glad you can make it. And to put you in the hot spot right away, in the hot seat, we're going to kick off the conversation with you, sir. So, Sandeep, my understanding is that IBM as a company intends to upskill 30 million people by the year 2030 in areas as diverse as machine learning, artificial intelligence, virtual reality, data analytics, big data, IoT, and the list goes on. So, sir, the community impact of such an initiative is fairly clear. But how does this align with IBM's underlying business objectives?
IBM is a technology company, and at the heart of everything we do is people,
right,
and more importantly, technically skilled people who actually are involved in both delivering hardware and software that we develop,
absolutely,
but also delivering technological solutions. So technical skills are very much at the heart of everything we do as IBM. And I think the whole notion about skilling and driving technical skills, it has a twofold benefit. One is clearly it furthers our alignment of our strategy, but more importantly, I think wherever we operate, creating the right kind of ecosystems, which means the right kinds of skills and others, but also ensuring that we are cultivating talent in the right spaces, that is really important to us. What is critical is, I think, technical skills are such which doesn't necessarily require a whole lot of formal education, I think. We saw this morning, I don't know, well, actually the booths are out, but we had our CSR initiative this morning. And at that booth, if I actually remember exactly the booth, the second last one, where we had a young person, 8 years of age,
wow,
who was doing, who had actually benefited from our Skills Build program and was actually doing programming. And he had been doing it for about almost a year and a half, where they had created a solution, AI solution, where they were doing automated water delivery to fields based on soil moisture content and the kind of crops that they were cultivating. So the point being that the reason why technical skills are so important is it's about the aptitude and finding people young so that you could catch them early and actually ensure that their full potential is developed through the development of technical skills. So that's sort of the alignment of strategy, because ultimately, that creates the workforce that all the tech companies, and actually, I think any company around the world today is becoming a tech firm in some way, shape, or form. So that's what it's all
Thank you for
about.
setting that context, sir. Thank you so much. And I want to switch gears for a moment and come to you now, Hina. Because if we were to look at Diageo's 2030 goals, they encompass everything from water, hygiene, and sanitation improved infrastructure, right? Reducing the carbon footprint, and all the more increased emphasis on diversity, equity, and inclusion, road safety, and I'm just naming a few in terms of what lies ahead. So very similarly, we understand the societal impact of what Diageo is trying to do, but how does it in very tangible terms lead to an uptick in profitability?
I think the first thing I'd like to say is that, as a leading company in our industry, right, we believe that we have the responsibility of being brand ambassadors, and we believe that we must contribute to the communities that we operate in. And, underpinning our strategy is good corporate responsibility,
Sure.
right? You mentioned a few of our ESR sort of goals. Our ESR strategy is about promoting positive drinking. It is about championing inclusion and diversity. And it is about pioneering grain-to-glass sustainability, right? Now, there are many reasons why we believe this sort of contributes to profitability, right? The first thing is that within our grain-to-glass sustainability, we are consumers of water. And
Right.
water is a very scarce resource, right? We are also, of course, we've got a large manufacturing footprint, and we have about 40 distilleries around the country, so obviously we're consuming a lot of power, right? And the thing is that getting more efficient on water use and on power is actually licensed to operate. It is going to mean business resilience for the future. We have some of our, ministers sitting here, honorable ministers sitting here, and we know that all these things are going to get taxed more and more, and we'd better be, more efficient. Right? I think the other thing is that we are dealing with a new generation of employees, and employees want to work with companies that have a purpose, right? And, we see that our employee engagement is about 89%. It is really high compared to industry benchmarks. And the reason, the topmost reason for them engaging so much with our company and staying with us is because we are a very purposeful company, right? And if you look at the communities, I mean, we are operating in, say, 40 distilleries in different communities. If we do not have community resilience, we are not going to be able to source the right raw materials. We are not going to be operating in those communities. So it is extremely important for us to have resilience of those communities. So there are multiple reasons why we get profit. And not to forget, we are a consumer business.
Right.
And the consumer of today, whether they overtly, show value for companies that are doing good or not yet, but there is an underlying demand for products that come from companies that are doing good for the planet and for, the community, right? I'll give you some examples.
Please.
We have a whiskey called Signature, and this product is actually not only the most sustainable product in the industry, but it is helping to regenerate mangroves on the coast of Orissa, right? And mangroves are very good for carbon sequestration. And Signature has, ever since it has become this sustainable and started the program, it is gaining market share rapidly. And the reason for that is that consumers are looking for products like that. We have Godawan, which is our Indian single malt, which is coming out of Alwar, and apart from the fact that it's got 65 awards, so it's a superb product, the fact is that it is working to conserve the Godawan bird, which is on the brink of extinction. And we are actually, with the help of government authorities and the local communities, actually we have 200 acres of area where we are planting grass, and creating habitat for these birds so that they can actually survive and actually give birth to more babies. Now, progressive marketing, right? There is a lot of sort of bias on gender, sexuality, on, age, on ability in a lot of the marketing communication. And we are trying to challenge those stereotypes. So, we have a campaign for McDowell's where Karthik Aryan features along with a hearing-impaired actor called Saad. We have Virat Kohli in Royal Challenge campaign, who is, featured with a model who has vitiligo, right? Now, this is our way of trying to inspire a more inclusive society, and consumers want that. So when consumers want our products, we will get market share and we will get profitability. So it is a win-win for our employees, for our consumers, for the community, and eventually for our investors, because all this leads to shareholder value.
A huge round of applause, please, because I think we have a brand in front of us that's not just talking the talk, but walking the walk. And I'll come to you now, Sumit. Now, obviously, Signify lights up some of the country's most remote corridors, some of its last mile geographies, all right? And you're transforming the lives of those involved. But nonetheless, it's a bit unclear as to how we decipher the connect between profitability and purpose here. And I'd imagine it comes with several layers of challenges. So how do you go about addressing them, navigating them, and seeing your way through them?
So first of all, fantastic to be here, and good evening to all. It was amazing to hear what Dholkiji had to say, and also Honorable Minister to hear him. We are called Signify Innovations as a company, but all this while we changed our name 4 years back. So we were known as Philips Lighting. So it's been a Philips Lighting, and what we say is that we are the second biggest light source on earth. Which is the first one? Sun, right?
Right.
So when you are a brand which is the second biggest light source after sun, you carry a huge responsibility with you. And there is no life without light. And light has so much of deeper impact on consumers, on what we do. And what you asked about profitability, I think, we have been in this country for the last 100 years. We have been leading lighting in the world for so many years. And it only comes because of the things which, it's very easy to relate to what Mr. Dholkia was saying, right? More you give, more is going to come to you. And I think we are the example of what that is. We have a very distinct 4 programs in our company. And all of them are about bringing change to the last mile. The first program is called Har Gav Roshan. You would be surprised that yes, electricity has gone to every place, but not all mohallas are lit. Even today, there are places where women find it very difficult to come out in the evening in far-flung villages.
Right.
We have gone ahead and lit around 500 such villages. One of the village, in fact, got India Tourism Award. It's called Ladopur village in MP, which has now become a part of a tourism attraction where all these things are lit. And what happens when lighting comes in the evening is not only about creating safety, it also starts creating commerce. And when you start creating commerce, people start staying on the roads for more number of times, the business kind of grows, so it has a direct impact on the society. We have another program which is called Jagmag Pathshala, where we are going to schools. I don't know how many of you are aware, but a lighting level has a huge impact in the way people learn. And we know it, we know light. Everywhere I go, I just look up as to what lighting source it is. But there are so many schools now, around 300 schools which we are going and having lighting up those schools. And when you hear those teachers who are coming in and saying that now it feels far more better to come and teach, and students are learning much, much better. The third program which we have is called, on sports. It's called Khel Jyoti. You see all our programs have some bit of light in it. So Khel Jyoti is a program where we are going and bringing sports, getting people outdoors in the evening in far-flung areas of India. Recently, we started something called as volleyball league in the eastern part of India. It is one of the biggest leagues with 120 and all more than 200 villages participate in it. And I think one of the players or few players in Indian team on volleyball are coming from those kind of places. There is another program which is called as Swasthya Kiran, because we feel that the healthcare infrastructure which we have in our country also needs to be much better. So we are going there to really create a better, healthcare infrastructure with using solar, etc. And all of this pays back, because when I'm going to that school and a student is looking at Philips Light which is coming in, of course when they are going to grow, they are going to be coming to the brand. The growth is happening in the rural part of India. Another great example which I'll give you. Recently, we would have seen that in UP there were a lot of issues of conflict between animal and men.
Right.
There were people who were, tigers and leopards were coming. Now, if you make lighting infrastructure in those forest areas better, which is where we went and lit up around 150 villages there to make sure that we are saving lives. So every day I come to office, while there are numbers and there is a profit which we make, but what makes us and our employees very happy is the kind of impact which we are able to create, and that will continue to give us the profits, not for last 100 years, but also for next 100 years. We are very, very convinced and driven by that.
Some wonderful examples and very tangible ones of what this brand is doing on an everyday basis. And Sandeep, I want to come to you, because one of the leading criticisms when it comes to the education system perhaps in this country is that we are churning out graduates, but they are simply not employable. All right? And IBM is working hand in hand with the education department and the skilling department of the government of India to change all of that. Now, that of course is very generous and magnanimous, right? But what do you think that does to IBM's perception in terms of brand value and market leadership?
So, I think we've got to sort of look at this from two perspectives.
Please,
I
sir.
think any work that we do, it's all about being a good corporate citizen in any dimension. So it's by we do good by doing good. I think that's the mindset that we need to have. If we think about it from an India perspective, today we are actually sitting on a demographic dividend which is waiting to be unleashed. I think
Right.
within the next few years we will be sitting on an employable workforce that is going to be, fairly significant, and if it is appropriately skilled for the right kinds of technical skills, the right kind of vocational skills and so on, we can literally become a skills capital of the world. So from a branding perspective, I think a lot of it has to do with how do we enable the creation of right ecosystems wherever we operate, so that we are recognized as a company that is not only skilling people, but skilling people with a purpose for them to become more employable. If you look at, again, it's very recent, so I just go back to what I saw this morning. A lot of what I saw in the folks that were actually working through a lot of the skills build programs that they were working through is directly linked to internships that they're doing. I'll give you a real live example.
Please.
And I don't have the details here, but this is a little girl from Rewa in Haryana, where she, daughter of a rickshaw driver, and she wanted to, she's obviously applying for college and others. While she was doing that, she came across our Skills Build program and got plugged into, taking the courses. There are about 1,000 courses that are offered. And she went ahead and did some courses on data science, AI. I think some she did in softer skills like presentation skills and so on and so forth. And once she went through and finished all these courses, she did this while she was going through college, right? And she went ahead and uploaded all these skills onto her LinkedIn page. I think within a few weeks, she had about 66,000 reach outs where she
Phenomenal.
had actually, and ultimately, even before she was graduated, she actually had offers, right? So the work that we do in skilling, we don't think about it too much as a branding exercise, but by the very nature that people who go through the programs, they find opportunities either as entrepreneurs themselves or people who can move into the tech world by getting internships, by getting jobs and so on. That itself creates a brand value. So I don't think, and I don't think anyone should think about how what you do from a CSR perspective or for skilling, which is what we do. Most of our CSR work is in skilling. We don't think about it as what will this do to the IBM brand. It's all about, is it creating an impact for where we are operating, either in the state or the city and others where we are operating, in the country where we are operating, more importantly. And then how is that individual who is benefiting from it creating a broader impact to the society?
Wonderful. I think it's a critical distinction, and thank you for making it. Because in many companies' journey towards embracing CSR, I think it is a commonly made mistake. All right? And I'll come to you now, Hina. Water scarcity is a prevalent issue in this country. It's caused socio-economic and political tension and upheaval, right? And Diageo is, of course, a huge champion behind water positivity. The impact is understood, but what's a bit more difficult to decipher is what that does to the company's operational efficiencies. How do you create a measurable, monitorable metric for how this water positivity movement that the company has embraced is translating into profitability?
Well, first of all, I'd say that, all of us have heard that water is going to be the next reason for war, right?
Right.
And for a business that is, largely dependent on water, I don't think we are looking at, how water will create operational efficiency and profits for us. I just think that we are going to preserve water for life, right? We focus on three key areas. The first one is water use efficiency, right? We had set a target in 2020 as part of our ESG plan that we will reduce or improve our water use efficiency by 40% by 2030. As of June this year, we have actually improved our water use efficiency by 49% in our distilleries and by 32% in our packaging operations.
Phenomenal.
And we are well on track to therefore achieve this. And one of the ways we are doing this is promoting water circularity. So when we get market bottles, we wash them. And we are actually now using technology where we can use the same water 9 times to wash bottles, and then finally the water gets used in landscaping. So not a drop of water is going waste, right?
Huge round of applause for that.
The other area we are working on is water replenishment, and I was just remembering Dholakia ji, we've also made some sarovars, right? In Alwar, which is, in Rajasthan, which is a dry state, right? Our focus is really on replenishing water bodies. Our target was that we would replenish more water than we use by 2026, and it was about 800,000 cubic meters of water, which was our target. End of last year, we've actually replenished 1.1 million cubic meters of water in the areas where we operate. So we've actually exceeded our target by 25%, 3 years ahead of time, and we are not stopping. And, you mentioned sanitation and hygiene and water. And I was just thinking, Sumit was talking about when you light up the villages, the women particularly benefit a lot. I'll tell you, we set up in one of the districts in Alwar, we set up toilets for these women in the village, and we made good quality water available to them. And 2 months ago, I had 5 ladies who came to see me, and this was the first time ever in their lives that they have ever stepped out of their village, and they came just to thank us.
Wow.
Because they said that for the toilet, I used to go in the field, there were scorpions there were people there, and I had to walk miles before I could even go to the toilet. And for water, it was an endless journey, and therefore I was doing nothing because I only used to spend my day fetching water. Because you have given us water, we are now actually being able to do economic generation in the village. So they're actually doing, some sort of business, micro enterprises.
Sure.
So for us, that is the second one. And the third one is collective action. There is an exhibit here on the Godavari initiative, which is, we are the founder members of the Godavari initiative. It is a multi-stakeholder collaboration to basically promote sustainable management of the Godavari basin, which is one of the most water-stressed basins in India. And the whole idea is to not only restore the biodiversity and the water balance, but it is about community well-being. It is going to impact 23 million people in 9 districts of Maharashtra. I do encourage all of you to go to that exhibit and go to that stall and see what is happening in the Godavari initiative. I tell you, the first thing is the team there is so passionate. It's just worth seeing it for the passion of those people, right? So for us, I think these 3 things, right, we believe will promote water positivity. And when we have water positivity, honestly, the whole country will thrive. And business will only thrive if the country is thriving and the communities are thriving, right? So, and apart from the fact that it's a critical raw material for us, we do have to have healthy communities again, right? So it's less about profit, but we know it is an investment, as Mr. Dholakia said, it is an investment that will pay back in profits, and we are seeing the results already.
And purpose.
And purpose, yeah.
All right. Well, coming to you, yes, please. I think that does deserve a round of applause, please. Now, coming to you now, Sumit, you face a particularly unique challenge in that, Signify operates in some of the country's most marginalized tier 3 communities, right? How difficult is it to embrace innovation in your sustainability-focused strategies? I'd love your take on the extent to which you struggle with that.
So really, I don't think it's a matter of struggle. If you look at lighting requires power, right? So if you look at 10 years back when we were using incandescent bulbs to now, I think the industry had done a phenomenal job to convert all those power guzzling technologies to what is today LED technology. I think it has reduced the energy consumption by more than 80%. And of course, we have taken a leading position there. I also want to point out one more amazing thing our government has done. A few years back when we had a launch of what was called Prakash Path, where there was government intervention to actually go and change lighting products from energy consuming lighting products to more energy efficient lighting products, and that would have saved maybe creation of 5 to 7 power plants because power is scarce.
Right.
Now coming to sustainability, which we have a very clear goal in front of us. We have committed by that 2040 globally, we will be net zero company. Most of the countries are planning it by 2050. We are saying we are going to be a 2040 net zero company, which means that over next few years, we are going to take out 90% of our value chain. We will take the CO2 emissions out of that. Now, there are 3 things which we look at doing, and how do we bring this into innovation? Because we are also selling a product which requires power. So 3 things we look at. First is reduce. Second is reuse. And third is recycle. If we are today having a product which is electronic product, which has suppose 100 components, how can I create a design which is going to happen in 40 components? How can I reduce the footprint which I am going to create? Can I reuse some of the things which are there by maybe creating a program where we are taking things back and also reusing some of that? And how do we recycle? Because I think it's very important for us to recycle electronic waste. So what innovation do we need to do in products so that the recycling becomes much, much easier and better? The other thing now we have gone into and saying that we are going to create what is called as EPDs. It's called environmental, we are going to have a document for every product, the impact it has on environment. And therefore you start designing products, and not only designing products, you also start looking at a value chain. How do I get my production closer to consumption? Where do I buy my raw material from? What is the transportation which I am using to get that raw material in? So what is the CO2 which I am having across the value chain, and can I design, innovate to bring that down? And not only that, can I be transparent to go to my customers and say that this product has taken this much CO2 and I'm going to certify that. And then it becomes a part of our innovation cycle to say that the overall footprint, the design should be such that the overall footprint on CO2 goes down. The other thing which is very interesting, which is very difficult for consumer companies to do, is that we have now taken out 100% plastic packaging from our products. So there is no product
Phenomenal.
which we are selling which has a plastic packaging. Well, I think that is not something which we are going to do. And over, we are now finding customers, even in the tier 2 towns, who start appreciating the kind of work brands do. And with New Gen, Hina was saying, people are interested in working with companies, interacting and buying brands who are environmental conscious. So I think to bring it, I don't think it's a challenge. It's a need of the hour, and as a leading brand, we should be showing the way. It's our responsibility to do that.
Very, very heartening to hear that. Incredible to hear that. And Sandeep, coming to you. I'm perhaps stating the obvious here, but IBM has such a critical role to play in bridging the country's digital divide. And all of the upskilling initiatives that IBM has embraced in order to prepare next-gen India for new age jobs and the career graphs of tomorrow is indeed phenomenal. But I'd love your take on the extent to which this requires the top layer of management to buy in and steer that vision such that it trickles down to all levels of the organization, sir. How does those discussions happen, and what leads to success?
Well, I mean, the whole notion of skilling and upskilling, I think in any corporate conversation or government conversation you have today, I don't think there is any conversation about either a future technology or a current technology or even any kind of innovation that is without the notion of skilling. Because if you don't have people with the right skills, things aren't going to come together, right? So I don't think that there is an issue about the top not understanding the value of skilling. I think that's clearly there. The key is how do you make those skilling capabilities and skilling programs available more broadly and transparently to every organization. And I personally don't see any issues with that in either any corporations or the government. As a matter of fact, I know that in every government conversation I have about any future technology, the first question that comes up is what can we do about skilling and how do we scale it up?
Well, great to hear that as well. And you talked about the Godavari initiative a short while ago, Hina, and the Godavari initiative seems very much rooted in partnerships, community partnerships. What role do community partnerships play in ultimately, connecting those dots between profitability and purpose? Because no one company can succeed in that arena when operating in isolation.
Well, I think they're critical, right? I mean, we started the Godavari initiative with the Godavari River Management Board and, us. We've had our first regional consultation happened, a month or so ago, and we've had a lot of interest from other corporates in partnering with us. But we have realized that these things only scale when the local community gets involved, because they are the beneficiaries and the users and the sufferers of whatever happens in those areas and in the basin, for instance, in Godavari, right? We were just having a conversation, just before I came in here, that there is a big sugarcane growers community in the Godavari region. And they are very influential for many reasons, because they are a big community there. And we believe that this, involving them and getting them to adopt this initiative will give us more scale than we can imagine and what a few corporates can do, right? I mentioned about Alvar. The villagers themselves have got involved both with the conservation of the Godavan bird, the restoration of the water bodies. Because for us as corporates, we can start the journey, but it is very difficult for us to continue to sustain in a single area. And the success only comes when you have the local community adopt it and take it forward for sustainability, right? So for us, these partnerships are incredible. I think you asked questions about, what happens on profitability. I'll tell you, Pooja, investors are watching us. They're a critical stakeholder for us, right? And, especially for those of us who are listed entities here. I've had investors ask me about my Sustainalytics rating and say that, this was 3 years ago, right? You are medium risk. It would be very good for us if you could become a low risk company because it'll give us a lot of confidence. And these initiatives have helped us, after engaging with the agencies, engaging with the government, engaging with the communities, to actually get to the low risk rating today. And that is evident in our share price, it is evident in our market cap, and it is evident in the confidence of the investor in our company, which fuels more profitability and therefore fuels more ability to be able to do this. So I would say partnerships critical, community very important, corporates, government, development agencies, all of them. Extremely crucial to have success in these initiatives.
Well, that's also why I believe summits like this are critical. It's an opportunity for all of you to find like-minded corporates or individuals who can help take your vision to the next level. And then coming to you now, Sumit, now that we very clearly understood the business case behind sustainability, in the context of the four walls of your organization, how do you then scale that sustainability strategy?
I think you asked about how do organizations work around purpose, right? And at the heart of what we do, and we define our purpose as to unlock extraordinary potential of light for brighter lives and better world. So in the purpose which we have put, which every employee, every partner of ours, every supplier of ours has to understand and ingrain, is to unlock amazing possibilities which lighting has to offer, but in a way that's going to brighten up lives, but also making the world a better place to live. And therefore, sustainability is at the core of our purpose. And it can only go, as Hina was saying, we have a lot of investors which are ESG funds. They invest in companies who want to do good from an ESG standpoint. Our managerial compensations at a higher level are linked to how are we doing on ESG. Are we going in the direction where we want to do? And that is around that purpose. And are we going to therefore have sustainability at the heart of what our results are? And sustainability for us is not only energy efficiency. Sustainability for us, or what we call as Brighter Lives mission, is more about all-round development for the society. For example, the DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, is a big piece in the overall world to make it far more sustainable. And therefore, there are also KPIs which are there at the senior management level to make sure that we are improving our diversity, equity, inclusion. And diversity not limited to gender, but diversity which is going to have all walks of life as part of our organization. So whether it is disabled, so there is a very clear idea of which is very much rooted into why we exist. And yeah, it's a core part of what we do.
And that clarity is critical. It keeps you on the right path. And so by way of closing comments, and I'll pose my last question to all three of my panelists, starting with you now, Sandeep. The hard reality is that corporates continue to struggle in terms of maintaining that balance between profitability and purpose. And I'd love your take on how we, in our own personal capacities or professional capacities, can ensure that purpose remains a top priority in the boardroom for the years to come.
So look, I personally don't agree with your statement that purpose and profit have to be distinct from each other.
They can peacefully coexist.
No, they have to coexist because we operate in societies where having that balance is very critical.
Right.
It all goes back to how you define your strategy and how you execute it. For us, it's very clear. For us, skills and how we develop the right skills for not just ourselves, but for the ecosystems around us are really important. Second, sustainability is really important because the business that we are in, where we actually, enable data centers and others around the world, having green data centers and driving sustainability is important. So the fact that today we have very clear net zero targets for ourselves, every new office that we get into anywhere in the world, we ensure that it is a LEED certified green building, and supporting the right kinds of sustainability initiatives, that is just built into the fabric of how we do business, right? And the third, it's all about responsibility and trust, which becomes very important in the business we're in, because we use people's data, we actually deliver insights based on that, and so on. So the whole notion of responsible AI, I actually always say responsible AI is responsible business. And how we actually enable that and live those values on a day-to-day basis, that becomes the balance, or I don't even call it the balance, it becomes integral to how you do business. So how do you do good? By doing good business. That's it.
Part of the corporate DNA. All right, moving on to you, Sumit.
So I agree with him. I don't think they are at all at loggerheads. They have to be together. There is no doubt about it. And I'm also saying that it helps business, because at the end of the day, we choose vendors who are far more sustainable. So when he's going to choose lighting partner, I'm sure he's going to choose me, because I'm the most sustainable
right?
lighting partner for him
We
or
have this
for
on
her.
camera. We have
No,
this on
the
record.
reason why I'm saying this is because for companies like IBM or Diageo, this is a part and parcel of the culture. Or even if I have to go and buy something from for my company, there is a way in which I choose vendors. So what I'm saying is, and the demonstration of that is, if you're doing good, business is going to come to you. They are never at loggerheads. That clarity has to be there. The other thing which I think for MNCs, I think it's easier for us to do it, because there is a way in which the MNCs work, we do it in a way which is right. But what now the government is doing, that you have to invest your 2% of your profit back into CSR. Maybe a lot of organizations were not today doing it in earlier years. Now they are forced to do it. I think we are in the first step or first phase. Now there are going to be audits which are going to come in. So then you will be compelled to do something which is good. So that push from the government is required. And I think companies like us are going to be those torch bearers to really go and push the things to the next level. So clearly, not at loggerheads. We exist because of that purpose.
Wonderful. And Hina, I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, thank you. I think our purpose is to celebrate life every day, everywhere, and with everyone. So, celebration partner for all of you, right? I think the trick is for us, the coexistence is a given, right? I think it's about how do you link your, purpose with your mission, with your execution principles. And I'll just talk a little bit about the mission. When I came in 2021, we established a mission that we wanted to be top performing consumer company in India, delivering long-term value to all our stakeholders. Long-term value to stakeholders necessarily means ESG and sustainability is a part of it, right? And so to take it further, we took ESG to be one of three pillars in our strategy. And therefore, when you are executing strategy, you are executing all three pillars. It's a given. The execution principles for us are about creating triple wins. And what we call triple wins is value for the consumer, for the company, and for the community that we operate in, right? So, ESG is not seen as a cost generator in our company. ESG is seen as something that will create genuine value for the consumer, and the consumer will be willing to pay for it. And we have examples. I said Signature, Godawan, I think, right? It will benefit the communities, and that's when the benefit flows back to us, because it is an investment in the community. And all this adds back to the profitability and reputation of the company. And they can coexist beautifully, in harmony, right? And this is what all of us are learning to do and are, beginning to find a very harmonious way of doing.
And you're living through it. And ladies and gentlemen, in the journey towards driving profitability through purpose, perhaps a bit of a journey lies ahead. But conversations like this certainly make for a critical first step. With that, I want to thank all of our panelists, Hina, Sumit, Sandeep. Huge round of applause for sharing such a rich range of insights this evening.